Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Debbie Turner-Bell has the night off. Well, a federal judge in New York ruled Friday that the National Security Agency's massive collection of domestic telephone data is indeed constitutional. U.S. District Judge William Pauley defended the NSA program as the government's counterpunch against terrorist networks. But this decision raised privacy concerns, and it conflicts with the ruling last week by a federal judge in Washington. Joining us now to discuss this case, which may actually end up in the Supreme Court in the United States, is MUSTAPHA NDANUSA, a civil rights lawyer and litigation lawyer for the Washington-based law firm Davis NDANUSA, Ikhlas Saleem. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. First of all, what is your take on this ruling? And they're then basically saying that this spying is lawful.
Well, initially when I read about the decision, my first reaction was, is this a joke? Because just recently, about a week ago, there was a different decision that said that it was possibly illegal, that it was not constitutional. So I think that people need to be concerned by this ruling. And as you mentioned just recently, that this is a case that's probably going to end up going to the Supreme Court in order for it to be ultimately decided, since you have two competing judges saying different things about the same exact topic.
Right, which is he said, she said, so to speak. The thing is, their argument very well could be, this is all to protect everybody. We're doing this to help you. This is a security issue. We want to make sure that everybody's protected. What do you say to that? Well,
that's a fair argument. But I think the problem here is there is a lot of secrecy. That's really what surrounds the NSA spying. We didn't know about it for a long time, and then suddenly there's different revelations are coming out almost every week, it seems like, about the nature and the extent of the NSA spying. So while it may be for protection, why hasn't the government been very, I guess, forthright about what it is that they're doing? Why has this been so secret?
Right. Well, interestingly enough, right, just more recently, the head of the NSA finally kind of came forward, and he did some interviews for the first time about this because they were under such fire for such a long time. And some of the newer folks, I guess, that had been there for less time were saying that, you know, we needed to be a little bit more disclosing about exactly what we were doing. And of course, all this coming to light because of Edward Snowden. But that being said, the American citizen, oftentimes they'll say, you know what, it's all right. We trust you to protect us. What do you say to folks like that say, you know what, it's okay, I don't mind?
I think folks like that have to educate themselves about our Constitution, about the protection that is given to the individual, and that when we just throw up our hands and say, I trust you, you can do whatever you want, that just opens the door up for abuse, for government abuse. And we have to ask ourselves, why is the government mining so much data on every American? Not just the Americans that they suspect of doing something wrong, but every single American, and then storing the data for, we don't know, for many years. So I think that's something that we have to be concerned about. We can't just let the government run amok and do whatever they want, just at the risk of our own privacy.
And the NSA has sort of acted a bit independently of the government in a way, right? So that's why there's this check, right, with the federal government and the judicial system here coming around and saying, wait a minute, are you going too far or not?
Correct. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, there is going to be that check ultimately by the Supreme Court. In the recent decision, the judge, in a way, sort of punted the issue and said, based on the current law, which is, I think it was a case Smith versus Maryland, which is 1979 case, the Supreme Court case. The judge has basically said, based on the current law, what you're doing is legal, but ultimately, whether or not the NSA spying continues has to be decided by the White House, the President, and Congress. And in parts of the case, it appeared that this particular judge, I believe it's Judge Pauley, said that he may feel that the NSA spying is gone a little bit too far. But at the same time, it's not illegal, at least not until the laws change.
All right, last question, just really quickly, if you don't mind. You know, Prince did 1999, and I remember reading Alvin Toffler and George Orwell. Is this really turning into a Big Brother society at this point?
Well, as I said earlier, if you contrast what this particular decision says versus what a decision by Judge Leon a week ago from the district court in D.C. said, Judge Leon basically said this is Orwellian. And today, the ruling from the Southern District says it's not Orwellian.
Yep. So he said, she said. We'll have to see where it goes and where it ends up. Thank you so much, MUSTAPHA NDANUSA. We really appreciate it. Civil rights attorney joining us on this NSA